In 2016, four friends planned a simple adventure, a night in a small rustic cabin in a remote Russian village, followed by an early morning hike to a nearby mountain peak. It was supposed to be an easy, enjoyable trip, but as they slept, something or someone was lurking outside in the darkness. He looked forward to that trip, but he didn't know that this trip to Siberia will be his last. Siberia is vast, remote, and brutal. Most people imagine Russia as a place filled with cities, but beyond the Ural Mountains, stretching over 5 million square miles, lies a nearly untouched wilderness. It's cold. In fact, the average annual temperature hovers just above freezing. It's isolated, and it's dangerous. The forests are home to some of the world's most terrifying predators: massive brown bears, hulking gray wolves, and the deadly Siberian tiger. There's even a story from 1997 about a hunter named Vladimir Markov who encountered a Siberian tiger, shot at it, and ran. The tiger didn't die. Instead, it followed him home, waited for him to step outside, then killed and ate him. This is the kind of place Colin Madsen found himself in. Colin wasn't just some tourist, he was an adventurer. Born in America, he was passionate about the outdoors. Over time, he became fascinated with Siberia, its rugged landscapes, and its people. By 2013, at 22 years old, he moved to Irkutsk, a city near the famous Lake Baikal, the deepest freshwater lake in the world. He studied at Moscow State Linguistic University and spent countless hours exploring the wild, even volunteering to mark new trails in the region. This wasn't someone who would simply get lost in the wilderness. He knew Siberia, he respected it, and that's why his disappearance didn't make sense. On March 27, 2016, Colin and three of his friends, one American, two Russian, headed out on their trip. Their destination? The village of Arshan, where they'd rent a small cabin at the base of Love Peak, their planned hike for the next morning. They arrived, stocked up on supplies, and settled into their tiny one-room cabin. It was simple, just a few beds, a stove, and no bathroom. If they needed to use the restroom, they had to go outside to an outhouse. At 2 a.m., they turned off the lights and went to sleep. 5 hours later, something was wrong. At 5 a.m., Colin's friends woke up, expecting to start preparing for the hike, but Colin's bed was empty. At first, they weren't too concerned. Maybe he had stepped outside for some fresh air or to use the outhouse. But as the minutes ticked by, that concern grew. His wallet, phone, and jacket were all still inside, things he wouldn't have left behind if he planned to be gone long. By 7 a.m., still no sign of Colin. They checked around the cabin, called out his name, nothing. He had vanished. Panic set in. The friends left a note on the cabin door in case he returned and rushed to the local police station to report him missing. Authorities quickly launched a massive search effort, combing through the dense forests and the surrounding mountains. 8 days later, on April 4th, a search team made a chilling discovery: Colin's lifeless body about a mile from the cabin. His body position was strange, lying on his back, one arm stretched out, the other bent close to his body. His hands were clenched into fists, and visible cuts and abrasions covered his wrists and neck, as if he had been restrained. His clothes were torn. His boots were still on, but he wasn't wearing socks. That may seem insignificant, but for Colin, it wasn't. He had scar tissue on his ankles from previous surgeries, and he always wore socks to prevent irritation. For him to not be wearing socks suggested something unusual had happened. More disturbing, his body showed almost no decomposition. His injuries looked fresh, and there were no signs of animal predation. All of this meant one thing: Colin had been alive for most of those 8 days. The Russian authorities quickly ruled it an accident. Their claim? Colin got lost, wandered into the woods, and died from hypothermia. But Colin's family didn't buy it. They hired an independent US-based forensic lab to review the autopsy report, and the findings were disturbing. Colin was not under the influence of drugs or alcohol. he did not die from hypothermia. His cause of death was suffocation, meaning he had been murdered. Who killed Colin? And why? Some believe he was targeted by the Russian government. He had participated in a peaceful environmental protest, and police had warned him to stay away from activism. But if this was a government hit, why take him in such a high-risk situation, with friends who would immediately notice his absence? So many questions remain. Who or what was outside that cabin when Colin stepped into the night? Where was he for those missing days? What really happened before his death? One thing is certain, Colin's case is still unsolved. His parents continue to fight for answers, but with the case closed in Russia, no new information is being released. So for now, we're left with the unsettling mystery of what really happened to Colin Madsen in the vast, unforgiving Siberian wilderness. If this story moved you, subscribe to Outdoor Tragedies. We bring you the true stories of survival, loss, and the lessons learned from nature's raw power. Stay informed, stay cautious, and always respect the wild.